Church. My name is Justin. We are so excited to have you here this morning. Before we go into worship this morning, I want to introduce some people, some friends of ours on stage. This is Chelsea. Give it up for Chelsea. So excited to have her here leading worship. We got Frank back here on the keys, killing it on the keys. Let's show these guys how we worship here at Lifepointe, okay? We're going to put our hands together. We're going to worship loud this morning. Let's go, church.
Well, good morning, family. Good morning, Lifepointe. So grateful this morning to be able to call you family, even though I don't know most of you. We're covered by the same blood, so that makes us family, which I love. Yeah. This morning, there's a theme of thankfulness regardless of circumstance. That's a theme of the Christian life, because our God is worthy of worship. Our God also loves us and gives us the blessing of loving him back. And it is a blessing. It's a lifelong blessing, an eternal lifelong blessing. Abundant life is to know God. That's what Jesus prayed in John 17, to know him. And if you're prone to forget, like I am sometimes, as to what you have to be grateful for, remember the Lord. Remember who he is. Not just emotional. Remember the Lord. Emotions are beautiful, but remember him on purpose. Gratitude comes with remembrance on purpose. So let's remember as a family who our God is, what he's done, and his love for us. Let's love him back, yeah? Let's love him together. Come on. All my words fall short. I've got nothing new. How could I express all my gratitude? I could sing these songs as I often do, but every song was then, and you never do. So I throw up my hands, praise you again and again. So all that I have is a hallelujah, hallelujah. And I know it's not much, I've nothing else fit Come on, let's sing one more time together. So I throw up my hands and praise you again and again, 'cause all that I have is a hallelujah, hallelujah. And I know it's not much, I'm nothing else fit for my King, except for a heart singing hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, we give you praise, we give you praise and magnify your name. Yeah. Lord God, we love you. We love you today, we'll love you tomorrow. One thing I'm sure of is you will be faithful tomorrow. I pray we'd have a heart of gratitude even while listening this morning, that we'd be receptive to any good news, to any correction you have for us today. We'd be receptive, because you correct us out of love, God. Whatever you have this morning, I pray our hands would be open to receive, because you are good and kind to give everything that you do. We as a people are ready to hear from you. Speak, Lord. Your servants, they're listening. We give you glory and honor, and we bless you. We bless you, God. In Jesus' name we all say, amen. You guys take a couple minutes to greet each other. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. 10:45. We good today? We excited to be in church? Some of you? All right. Hey, if you guys don't mind too, if you could scoot in, if you see seats, like scoot towards the center of your row, because we got people that are still arriving on campus. We'll try to make room so we don't have to go to overflow space. But hey, if we've never met before, my name is Ridge. I have the honor of serving as one of the pastors here at Lifepointe. And beside me is my friend Kelsey, who is one of our impact leaders, which is what we call the incredible volunteers that make every single Sunday at Lifepointe happen. And Kelsey, one of my favorite things about our church is that every single Sunday at Lifepointe, we see new faces and new families. So can we make some noise for anybody who's new to Lifepointe joining us today? Absolutely.
Yeah, speaking of those new families, y'all, just in the month of July, we had 168 new families that went through our New Here Start Here. Yeah, we can give it up again. That's awesome. And so we do something here at Lifepointe that's called Try 5. And so if you are new here, we would love to know that you are trying us out for the first time. So there's a Connect card that's in the seat back in front of you. And we just ask that you give us more than one try, because something's going to be different every single Sunday that you're here. And we really want you to get to know the heartbeat of Lifepointe. And so as you fill out that Connect card, fill it out to the level of your comfort. We're not showing up at your house. We don't have time for that. You don't want that, so that's okay. But if you'll fill that out, and then as you leave today, there are some blue boxes that are in the doorways. You can drop those in there, or you can take it to one of our Next Steps areas. We have impact leaders there that would love to meet you, answer any questions about Lifepointe that you might have. They'd love to pray for you as well if that's what you're in need of today. So it's just a great one-stop shop, and we'd love to meet you today.
Absolutely. And those blue boxes that are in the doorways that Kelsey just mentioned are also one of the ways you can give financially towards what God is doing here at Lifepointe. So if you came today with tithes and offerings in hand, you can place it in the blue boxes, and thank you so much. Or you can always give online through our website or our mobile app. And man, just so thankful to every single one of you who give. And I know we say this a lot if this is your church home, but every time you give, I hope you know, you're helping somebody discover full life in Christ, because you're giving funds everything that we do as a church. Weekend services, Lifepointe preschool, our mission trips in the summer. So thank you so much for giving. And it makes me think about, there's a really simple but powerful way in this season that you can help us point more people to Jesus here in our community. And Pastor Nate called
calls it the simplest mission trip you'll ever take. Would you and your family consider moving and making the 1215 your service home? I know we say that a lot, but here's the truth. I mean, look around, right? The early service, this service is getting more and more and more packed. We had 170 new guests. That's just last month alone. And so we're trying to make space because we do have more seats available at the 1215. So I just ask you and your family to consider, would you be willing to step out in faith and again, go on the simplest mission trip you'll ever go on to the 1215 service. Plus, you can sleep in, right? Which is nice. And go to brunch. I don't know.
I was going to say, eat lunch before you come.
I'm trying to sell this right now. Go to 1215.
That's great. But we do talk here all the time, and it's just a next step that what we're asking about the 1215. And we just talk all the time about taking next steps. Everybody next step looks different. And so we just like to provide opportunities for you to make next steps. And one of those opportunities is coming up at the end of August the 27th, and it's our Discover Lifepointe event. If you are new here to Lifepointe, or maybe you've been coming for a while and you've never attended that, we just encourage you to. It really gives you information about who Lifepointe is. You get to meet the staff. There's conversations with people who are also a part of this family that you get to be a part of. And so we would love for you to join us on the 27th. But we would like to know that you're coming. So if you'll register, and Rich, how do they register?
Yeah, so if you're interested in registering for Discover Lifepointe, you got to get on our e-news mailing list, because that's actually where we put all the different information about what's coming up at the church, how you can get involved, how you can sign up. Every Thursday night, me and my team put that email out to everybody on that list, and you're going to get a recap of what God's been doing and what we're celebrating. But then again, anything coming up on the calendar, you can click to sign up or ask questions. So if you'd like to get on that list, all you got to do, if you got your phone out, you can text news to the number you see on the side screens, or if you're holding a Connect card, there's a little box on the front side where you can just check. It says, hey, I want to be on the e-news mailing list. So check that box, fill out the card, or text us, and this Thursday, you'll get an email.
Absolutely. And so this morning, as we get started, we are starting our brand new teaching series called The Art of Romance. So if you are single, if you are married, if you're dating, you're divorced, if you've had any sort of relationship with another human, this is for you. So let's check this out.
The song, Best of All Songs, Solomon's Song.
Kiss me full on the mouth, yes, for your love is better than wine, headier than your aromatic oils. The syllable of your name murmur like a meadow brook. No wonder everyone loves to say your name. Take me away with you, let's run off together. An elopement with my king lover. We'll celebrate, we'll sing, we'll make great music. Yes, for your love is better than vintage wine. Everyone loves you, of course, and why not?
If you can't find me, loveliest of all women, it's all right. Stay with your flocks. Lead your lambs to good pasture. Stay with your shepherd neighbors. You remind me of Pharaoh's well-groomed and satiny mares. Pendant earrings line the elegance of your cheeks. Strands of jewels illumine the curve of your throat. I'm making jewelry for you, gold and silver jewelry that will mark and accent your beauty.
Good morning, Lifepointe. How are we doing? Are we alive and well? I hope so, man. We're digging in today, a new series. Super excited about it. So before I do, let me introduce myself. If we've not met, my name is Chris Roop, one of the pastors here on staff. And I get the privilege of working on all of the stuff that we do here in the community and around the world, and a lot of our work. And this has been a very busy last 2 or 3 months. We sent over 60 people down to Honduras, and we did some great work down there. The church has invested well over $30,000 to do some really cool stuff that's down there. Just last weekend, we had the Cracking Up for Adoption event, where we had announced that we had raised $26,500, but actually had another gift that came in, and now it's $30,000 that we hit for adoptions. Feel like every child deserves a home, and that's kind of a big heartbeat for our church, is to make sure that we deal with the orphan crisis that's happening around the world, and that's one step that we're helping to do that. And then last week, we did the shoe thing. So back to the thing, we have kids that are in a foster care system, they're going back to school. Well, they don't get the same privileges a lot of people do to get to pick out the shoes they want and all this stuff. We said, oh no. In this county, every foster child has a chance to get the shoe that they want. And last week, you guys, over $15,000 worth of shoes and socks and everything else that's going to help these kids get shoes that they go back to school and be like everybody else. And you guys are very generous in making that happen. So give yourselves a hand. And the last thing I'll say is we have a mentorship program that we do that's kicking off again here. We started it back up last year after the COVID shut it down for a while. And we work at the school over here at Springfield. And we have mentors in there. And you're going to hear more about this. And would love for some of you guys that would love to be a mentor to a child. We'll be giving out more information about that. But I say all of those things. I just went through 4 things really, really fast. This church, listen, when we come here together, we are coming together to celebrate what God is doing on the outside. If it is only about what takes place on Sunday morning, we have missed the boat. And that's why we talk about it on a regular basis. And so keep serving, keep giving, and keep being a part. Thank you guys for doing that. Well, I need to jump in. I went through that really quick because I'm super excited about today doing this new series and what it's all about. So we're looking at the book. It's called Song of Solomon or Song of Songs. And the reason it's called Song of Songs or the Song of Solomon, it's his song, but it's the song of all songs that he wrote. It's his big song. Now it's written more like poetry, but you know how that goes. A lot of times poetry is reverted into music, which is the way he wrote. And so we're looking at it. And the big question people say is why are we looking at this old poem? I mean, it doesn't even mention God in the entire book. Why would we even look at it? And the reason the Bible has it in here is because intimacy and romance, I mean, we are hardwired for intimacy. It's a part of who we are. And once you get it, the very nature of it, it is sometimes hard to kind of hold on to and to flame that fire and to keep it burning. So we're going to take 5 weeks to kind of explore that and look at it and understanding that it is not a science. If you try to apply science to love and romance, what's going to happen is you're going to fail trying to be scientific about it. It is more like a dance. It's more like, that's why it's in poetry. It is more like art, a drawing, is painting. That's why we're calling it the art of romance and looking at love, sex, and God. So that's what we're doing. We're jumping in. So here's the thing. I don't know if you guys, how many of you, like me, have had somebody break up with you at some point in the past? If anybody say, yeah, there's a lot of you that are not raising your hand. You're that person. Nobody likes you, by the way. When you're the person who's broke up with everybody, and it's like, oh, well, you know, we don't like you. I would say hate you, but that feels strong. But we hate you. No, just kidding. No, but here's the reason I'm so upset about it, and the reason I'm making such a big deal about it is I have been broken up with a lot. And I know you're looking at me going, there's no shock. I get it. I see. I get it. And I'm just going to say there are a lot of cheesy lines that I've heard over the years. I've heard them all. If they exist, it has been said to me. But there's 2 that I hate the most, and they're the most cliche, and they're the ones I hate the most. First of all, it's not me, it's you. And that's what I hear. That's what I've been told. Now, you know, the whole stupid cliche, it's not you, it's me. It's, you know, it's just I'm different place in life. You're a liar is what you're trying to say. But the worst one, I just want to be friends. Man, I'm going to tell you, I hate that one. That is, I am a friend to a lot of girls is what I'm telling you. I've been told that I am the friend guy. And let me go ahead and tell you something. Guys, help me out with this, men in the room. Guys do not want girls for friends. They only have one plan with a girl. And so that is a terrible, and I know women, the first time you tell a woman guys aren't interested in being friends with girls, they're like, no, it's a fact. We're not friends with girls. We're friends with guys. We hang out with them, and girls you date. I mean, that's the point. So if you're wondering, a lot of you are like really shocked by that. Men, help me out here. Am I in the right ballpark? If you're married, you feel great about it. Yeah, those are. The dating guy's like, I don't know what he's talking about. You're my best friend. You're a liar. I want girls for one time. I just want a girl to tell me the truth. I want you to look at me and just tell me the truth. Don't lie about it. You are not attractive. That's what I know is true. I have looked in the mirror. That is a big nose. I mean, she's looking and going, no, that looks like something that is genetic. And I do not want to pass that on to my kids. That is not going to happen. I get it. I know that, you know, Chris, you're annoying. You talk so much. You should use less words, a lot less words, like a lot less. Because I get it. I have a big mouth, and I own that right now. You just need to tell me the truth. You have bad body odor. I mean, you stink. I mean, just say it. I feel okay with it. I can own it. You should not chew with your mouth open. You know, that is not what anybody has ever said to me. However, I threw that one in there because some of you need to stop it. Just shut your mouth. It's not hard. You can chew with your lips touching tightly, really tight. And don't ever eat cereal in my presence again. Anyway, the worst one I've ever heard, and this one actually has been told to me, it's not gonna come as a shock, but I found someone who's better. And that's not a shock, trust me. Listen, that is a low hurdle to jump. And I get it. Just tell the truth. I say, here's the problem that I wanna dig into, all fun aside. I think one of the things when it comes to courting and dating and relationships is we spend so much energy trying to find the right person. And the danger is when you pursue relationships from the context of finding the right person is, then you're gonna do whatever you need to do to put on masks or to change things that aren't changeable about yourself or to pretend to be something you're not, some type of facade, you know, so that you can impress somebody to catch them. And that doesn't work. Reinventing yourself and being something different than you are is gonna come back to bite you. So what I wanna do is to spend this time today looking at the first chapter, so you can go ahead and turn there. We're looking at the art of attraction. The first art piece of romance is the art of attraction. So the way this book is gonna flow from chapter 1 all the way through chapter 8, it starts out with this courtship where they meet. There's all this silliness that's going on between the two of them. Then they get married, and then it moves on to some conflicts in the relationship. And at the very end, how do they keep that flame still burning in this relationship? And it's a different culture. This was thousands of years ago, so it writes differently. The characters and the way they do things differently. The people are different. And even some of the things that they struggle with are going to be vastly different than what we struggle with, just contextually. But the principles still apply, and that's what I want to dig into. So like I said, this is Solomon's greatest love song. He's written this for the love of his life, which is an unusual person, to say the least, as you're going to find out that it's not who you think it would be or who it should be. And what he's trying to basically do is to create this storyline that just shows this beautiful romance. I would say that the book is sort of like a romance novel, which is interesting because it's crazy. I've heard pastors, when you do research on this, and you go look it up and see if I'm not telling you the truth, pastors will say, when they look at this book, they'll say it's an allegory of our relationship with God. And when you read this book, I really hope that it's not an allegory between my relationship with God, because it is awkward. There's body parts that are mentioned, things that are taking place. I mean, it is spicy. It's spicy. You're gonna be surprised if you journey through it with us. And it's not like modern day stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and warn you guys, don't pull this book out like it's some tool you're gonna use with your spouse, because calling her a horse today is not the same as it was back then, and it's weird. There are 3, and this is another interesting thing just to note. They every year before they would do the Passover, the Jewish men would get together and they would read this book. And it's sort of like their little, hey, let's read this right here, guys. And so they would get together, I guess, encourage each other. It's something that I feel like today would be the women. They would turn on, HGTV, and they would, dive right into the HGTV, and guys are like, I ain't going there. Well, I might. Depends on what the outcome is. Anyway, 3 main characters in this book. 3 characters, very simple. Number 1 is King Solomon, obviously. The strangest part about this book is the second character in the book is this Shulamite woman. And keep in mind, her name is never mentioned in this book, which I find interesting. This is the love of his life, and he never says her name. But she's the main character also of this story. And then there's a third group, and you need to catch wind of this one, and we'll talk about it in a second, but the young women of Jerusalem. This is kind of like her girlfriends that are hanging out. So let's kind of read through it. We'll kind of stop as we go, and then we'll pull out 2 big things before we close it up. All right. So verse 1's pretty simple. It's the title of the book, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon. So it's Solomon's great song. Verse 2, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Let me go ahead and say this just before we get any further. How do you know if you're in love? This is how you know you're in love. You say stupid stuff. I mean, ridiculous stuff. Because this is her writing, and she goes, let me kiss him with the kisses of his mouth. I mean, what else are we kissing people with? I don't know. And no, let him kiss me with his elbows. It's ridiculous. When you're in love with people, you say stupid stuff. I remember this well. You'd be, back in the day when phones were corded especially, you'd be laying in the bed saying goodnight, your lady friend, like, okay, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. I'm not hanging up, you hang up first. No, seriously, go ahead and hang up. No, she doesn't realize I'm competitive, and this is no longer about love. This is about we're in the middle of a competition, and I'm gonna win. I fell asleep, I don't know how many times on that phone. I won that battle, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. Because she wasn't that interested, remember? Because she broke up with me the next day. Anyway, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. Your anointing oils are fragrant. Your name is oil poured out. Therefore, virgins, they love you. Draw me after you. I know it's a weird phrase. We'll talk about it. Draw me after you. Let us run. The king has brought me into his chambers. So basically, this whole section is that he's opening a verse of this young lady who has met someone special, and she's with her girlfriends, these young women of Jerusalem, and she's telling them all about Solomon and describes him and all this stuff that she wants to see happen. And here's what the girls then, her friends say. This is the end of verse 4, the second part of verse 4. The girls respond back, we will exult and rejoice in you. We will extol your love more than wine. Rightly do they love you. So the girls, they respond with this excitement, this approval. And I'm just going to tell you as a friend, guys, if you're pursuing a girl, you're not just pursuing her, you're pursuing her and all of her friends. And so you got to think about that, you know. And if you ever get a guy who's trying to pull you away from your girlfriends, it's because they're controlling. And they know that they're going to tell her the truth. And so he's like, I can't let that happen. And so you see somebody who's keeping their lady friend from the ladies, you know he's a control freak, and it's because he knows he's a loser, and they're going to let him know. Warning, if somebody, ladies, listen to me. If you're dating somebody and they're keeping you from your girlfriends, break up with them today. It's not you, it's me. That's what you tell them. Or be honest, you're a loser. Anyway, verse 5, I'm very dark. This gets really weird. I'm very dark, but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I'm dark, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me a keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. And we're going to pause here for 1 second. And then I'm going to dig in on a couple things, but we're going to hit this and explain this in 1 second. But let me just say this as I get ready to explain that verse. So here's the key question you need to think about when you read this first chapter. There's a key question I have that I'm struggling with. What made her special? What made her special? When you think about it, let's just put this in context. He is King Solomon. He is the most powerful man on the planet. Why does this powerful man, who could have anybody, he can have whoever the greatest model is at the time, the coolest pop singer, whoever it is, whoever's the most lovely, he can have that person and he chooses her. Now you're saying, well, because she was probably the most attractive. No, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I'll say this, she's average and she's a peasant. She works the vineyards and all this stuff. She's not one of the people that's on the magazines. She's not that girl. So what we're going to learn in this book, what you're going to start seeing is what does this average person do that's unique and different? And I think what we learn from her is a principle that we can apply to all of our lives, not just if you're thinking about dating, but if you're already married, and how you should function as a whole, as a person. We can learn a lot from her. And I think women should be empowered by what she did and how she handled it. And before I jump into it, let me give you the big idea, and we're going to use that to unpack these few verses. And the big idea is this. Love is not about finding the right one. It's about being the right one. The difference between finding and being. We're moving away from finding to being the right one. So let me start out with finding. Why is that a problem? There are two generic approaches when you start saying, hey, I'm going to go look and see if I can find the right person. There's two techniques you'll typically use. The first technique is what I call the catching technique or the catching mentality. And I'll say it this way to be as nice as I can. You're not being yourself. You're trying to put on a facade so that you can catch your prey. I mean, catch the love of your life. I mean, it's ridiculous. The catching mentality is this, is that all around we kind of see who the cultural icons are, the people who look the right part and all this stuff. And we think if I can look like them, be like them, and act like them, then that's gonna make me more effective at finding what? A guy in general? No, you're not looking for any guy apparently. You're looking for some specific kind of guy, the hot guy, the guy with a nice car, a nice job. I don't know what it is that you're looking for specifically, right? But you're doing something that you're willing to put on this facade and become a totally different person to catch them. And it's fueled by Instagram and social media, all Facebook. You know, we do this, and I don't even have to explain what this is. We already all know. It's that bad. It is a problem. That's how we're discovering how we should look, how we should behave, how we should change ourselves. There's even videos on how to do this and how to do that so that you can become a fake person and reach another fake person who's also trying to catch their prey. And let me just give you this, it's free of charge. Listen, whatever you catch them with, you have to keep them with. Whatever technique and bait you throw out there, get ready, you gotta do it over and over again. And here's the problem. First of all, at some point when you're faking it, the true self will come out. And then this other person now is surprised, who is that? I did not marry that. And I thought you were this. And here's the worst of all. Whatever bait you use, at some point, you will lose because time is not on your side. Everything is moving south, both literally and metaphorically. It's going down. And so you think, no, I'm gonna win this one. No, you will not. You will not win it. And there's a second technique that's used. It's called the hunting method or the hunting mentality. And this is predominantly when you start trying to find the right type, okay? You're really hunting a specific type of person. So you're hunting, you're looking, you're doing everything you can to try to catch them. This person is typically very controlling because they're trying to find the right person. And when they can't find the right person, they go for the right type. The right type is not the right person, so what do? They then try to change the right type into the right person, and they try to control this person. You need to look like this, act like this, be like this, stop doing this, do this. You see, that controlling begins to kick in. And here's what, let me just tell you this. When you try to control somebody and you start just hammering down, constantly trying to control somebody, at some point you will break them. And now you have this passive, broken partner. It's not what you thought it was gonna be. You think you're trying to fix them. The problem is you can't fix them. You break them. And then you wonder why everything's shattered and falling apart. And there's one last problem that happens. A lot of times you're searching, you're looking, you're trying to find the right one. You can't find the right one, so what do? You begin to settle for anyone. And that is one of the greater fears I have. You don't settle. Let me give you the answer. I'm not gonna sit on the problem. Let's focus on the solution. The solution is very simple. It goes back to our big idea. Be the right one. Focus on being the right person. Let's go back to our text. Like I said, we're gonna go back to this verse 5 again. Here's what it says. Here's her response to these ladies. I'm very dark, but lovely. Old daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I'm dark, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's sons, they were angry with me, and they made me the keeper of the vineyards. But my own vineyard I have not kept. And here's what I just want you to catch. She is not culturally the right person. Now, it's weird because when we read it going, sounds like a hottie to me. In that day and time, it was the opposite of today. So in that day and time, if you were dark-skinned and thin, it means that you were a laborer and worker. You were in the sun a lot. And so that was not attractive back in that day. Back in that day, you had to be pale and plump. And some of you ladies, I hear you right now, I'm gonna kill that game. We need that system back right now. I need a time machine. I would be killing it. A top 10 in thousands of years ago. What happened? But she was the opposite. And she had some type of trauma from her childhood where her brothers threw her into this servitude. So she has trauma from her childhood. She's not what would be considered the most attractive. But what I love about this whole thing is the very first part. I'm very dark, but lovely. And I think it speaks volumes to how she begins to perceive herself. You know, the society and the culture may say that I'm not lovely, but I am lovely. She viewed herself differently, and she begins to set a standard of who she's going to be and what everybody needs to shoot up for, or she's not going to settle. She determines, I'm going to be this bride, this person of great confidence, I'm going to stand on my own. And she does. If you read this, her confidence level is great for somebody who has experienced what she's experienced, gone through what she's gone through. She determines that she's going to have confidence in who she is. This is who she's been created to be. She's not upset with her life. She's confident. She's bold. And what she does is she begins to set this standard, not creating some false standard that doesn't exist. She decides to be this person. So she elevates herself. The second thing we're going to notice is in verse 3, who they then say he is. Now, even though this is like predominantly kind of a her thing, the principle applies all the way across the board. Don't try to remove yourself if you're a guy. We should have confidence. We should be bold. We should not look down ourselves. Listen, many of us have had trauma. That doesn't mean we don't get help and we don't take steps forward to elevate ourselves and create a standard. And the second one is they begin to mention about him, his character in verse 3. Your anointing oils are fragrant. Your name is oil poured out. Therefore, virgins love you. Now, the first part of this is in that day and time, your name meant something. In the Old Testament, the last name especially was something that represented. And if you messed up, you could mess up generations or family members and the people around you. Your name meant something. That's why it was a big deal, and they elevated that. His name meant something. He was a person of character, respect, honor, that people looked at him and says, hey, this is a guy who takes care of himself and takes care of the people around him, respects people, is an authentic, genuine person. He's desired by many because of that. Many times we think about it from the standpoint of, what kind of car does he drive? What kind of following does he have? Is he one of the cool kids? Is he popular? And let me tell you, when you have that mentality, don't be surprised when you get a loser. We don't let that be the standard. The standard is this person a person of character, honor, respect? Are they going to take care of me? Do they have a job? Maybe let's just start there. Do they sit in the basement and play video games all day? Let me tell you, loser, you're in trouble. Don't be surprised when you marry somebody who's living in the basement when they want to go back to the basement when they get married. How many times I've heard that story? They marry somebody, it's like he plays video games all the time. He played video games all the time before. Like he's gonna stop? Free of charge, guys, get out of the basement. Get a job. Be a person of honor. Notice what else they say in verse 7. Tell me, so this is the weird part. There's this little interchange that goes just to show you how they're elevating their expectations for each other. She goes, hey, tell me, verse 7, you whom my soul loves, where you pasture your flock, where you make it lie down at noon. For why should I be like one who veils herself beside the flocks of your companions? And I know it's a weird verse. It seems like, okay, what does that even mean? What she's basically saying is, she's saying, tell me where you're at and where you're going to be. I'm going to come to you. Because what would happen in that day and time, she even talks about it, there are ladies that would come around and they would veil themselves around where a lot of these guys were hanging out, the shepherds and all that stuff, where their flocks were. And basically, they were prostituting themselves. So they would go out there, kind of hang out, and some of the guys go, hey, let's go get some of these ladies. And they're grabbing. She says, I'm not that girl. I'm not looking for anyone. I'm looking for one. And are you going to be that one? If you're that one, tell me where you are, I'll come to you. And you know what he said? Right here's where I'll be. You can find me, nobody else. He tells her exactly where to find him. He's like, I'm not trying to play the game either. Here's where I'll be. You can find me. And that's exactly what happens. And so I think it's really cool that there's this elevation of the standard. Here's who I'm going to be. Here's what my expectation is. And I know men today that are lowering their standards, they don't even care, playing a tough guy. There's a lot of pride involved. Culture is butchered men today into being these. And we're butchering them in the sense of just lambasting them as stupid and worthless and they're not any good and dads are incompetent and all this stuff. And then we wonder why we have a shortage of men stepping up to the bat to be men like they should be. We have to elevate our standards. Both women need to elevate their standard, men have to elevate their standard. And here's what ends up happening is, listen, you make a decision in advance to predetermine your boundaries. When you have predetermined boundaries, it will prevent emotional drift every single time. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is you have to determine in advance what you're looking for and what the standard is. Because when you get into a situation, you do not, listen to me, you do not want your emotions to step in. Your feelings cannot be trusted. Your feelings will fail you over and over again. How much stupidity is spewed out all over the world in movies and everything else. If it feels right, do it. You're an idiot, because rarely does it work out that way. Always, when you let your feelings step in, you'll make decisions that you'll regret the next day. Almost always. So you predetermine in advance, these are my boundaries. So when I get into an emotional feeling situation, my predetermined boundaries set what I will and what I will not do. And I say it because I'm proud, I'm confident, and I feel good about myself. I don't need your validation or your validation or your validation. I only need one, and that's Him who created me. And I'm gonna be bold in it. Yeah, you can clap for that. Let me draw it down with this. Verse 4 says this, draw me after you, let us run. The King has brought me into his chambers. And bottom line is, this last one I just want us to think about is it says, let us run. They make a decision to go in the same direction. They're running after the same thing together. And why is that important? The biggest mistake that often happens is we're not going the same direction. How many people compromise their beliefs, their morals, their faith, all of these things that are important to them so that they can be with this very attractive person or whatever the thing is that's making you go to this particular person. Like, how many people who walk with Jesus then make a decision to date somebody who doesn't love and follow Jesus? Makes no sense to me. You're not chasing and going up the same direction, and then you're surprised why you're always, doing this. Well, I'll change them. No, you can't change them. It has to be, even if they make a decision, then the question always is, did they make it for you or did they make it to follow Jesus? I mean, what was it? We run this race together with somebody who has equal and the same vision, predetermined direction. Now listen, some of you might be saying right now, well, Chris, I got a problem. My Mr. or Mrs. Right turned out to be Mr. or Mrs. Dud. What am I to do? Listen, the answer is the same thing for you. If you're married, instead of pursuing the right one, or even worse, pursuing another one, how about this? Be the right one. Make the decision to be the right one. Why is it that men and women stop working on this whole art of attraction once they get married and move forward? It never makes sense. It's all of a sudden you did all of these things to get to this point. My encouragement is this, don't stop. And I'll even do this. I'm gonna use an analogy. Let me use an illustration. So we talk about fire all the time. So think about this. When I took my boys out and I started showing them how to do a fire, there's a science behind making a fire. Did y'all know this? The whole science, and they're gonna be bringing out some stuff. Ignore the minions coming onto the stage. So there's an art to it. I don't know if you've guys had this conversation. You'll see anybody who doesn't know how to make a fire. You know what they do, right? They go out there, they throw a bunch of sticks down, and they just start trying to light stuff, right? They'll try to light a giant piece of wood. Y'all ever seen this? Like it's gonna burn. It's like, you're a moron. You have no clue. Don't touch it. Put it down. You're gonna burn yourself. You're gonna burn the forest down. So you have to teach them specifically how to make a fire. Now, I want you to think about this. In a relationship, you find somebody, you say, hey, this person may have potential. I'm pretty excited about it. And what you want to do is, and you instantly, what you're trying to do is in this initial part of the pursuit or in the attraction stages, you're trying to get that spark to start, right? You're trying to get a little something going on. And so what you do is, in the early phases, it's what I call the kindling. Kindling is very important. You guys know. I would even have some other stuff like brush, if you're a cheater, paper, whatever. You want to put it on the bottom with your smaller pieces of wood, and you kind of build it up, right? Y'all with me so far? All right, so you're putting there, and here's what it is. This is stuff like in a relationship where you, like initially, you send them a sweet text, maybe write them a letter, put it on their car, or in, something like that. You invite them out to dinner. When you go out to dinner, what do you show up with? You show up with some flowers. This is kindling. You're trying to get that spark going, right? You have the right tunes playing in the car. You predetermine in advance. Oh yeah, I got my love music going. I want something to trigger, right? You're trying to get the spark going. Now, some of you are like me. This is the kindling on the bottom. I realize that fire ain't gonna start as easily for me as it is for most people. So I cheat, I'm not gonna lie. I go get lighter fluid. And I spray me some lighter fluid on there. And the lighter fluid is this, it's listening. You know, remember back when your partner used to listen to you? Y'all remember those days? Like, what's your favorite color? Where'd you grow up? You know, what's your favorite thing to do? I could just talk to them for hours. For hours. That's this right here. And that'll start the fire. You listen, it's like, poof, the fire is going. Now you got a blaze going there like, he remembered my color. He brought me my favorite drink to work today. He brought me a latte. But you know, that's not enough. All that does, it'll burn, it'll go right out, right? You've got to put some bigger stuff in there. So that's when all of a sudden, you know, you come up with your favorite song for one another. Right? Y'all remember this? You come up with your song. Hey, this is our song. Me and my wife's song, you know what it is? It's REO's Speedwagon. I can't stop this. Anyway, you don't want me to start singing. So you come up with a song, you talk about it. Hey, here's our favorite song. You send it to her or whatever. And you can tell how old I am too when I said REO Speedwagon. About 90% of you are like, who's REO Speedwagon? Listen, here's how you know. You start listening to country music and you hate it. You start doing stuff. Men, you're watching HGTV, but you hate it. Listen, this is how you know you're pursuing, right? You're trying to track. You're willing to do things that the other person wants to do that you don't want to do. You remember those days? Like go horseback riding and you hate horses. You hate the smell of the outside. You know, everything about it, but you're going wherever she wants to go, wherever he wants to go, I'm going to do it. She's watching that pro football game. Y'all remember that when she used to watch football with you? You know, you're just stacking it up. And that flame now, it's deeper, it's richer, it's bigger. You get married, right? And you're still doing it. You're dating, right? Every once in a while, you do that anniversary, you do something special for each other. I mean, you got a flame going. And then all of a sudden, you have a baby. Y'all remember that? You're up all night, you hadn't slept in forever. Right? Tired. I can't. All of a sudden, he's got a new job. He's working all the time. Too busy, traveling. Got all kind of stuff going on. Second baby. Now she loves somebody else, that baby, and not just you anymore. And slowly but surely, one decision after another, you're not stoking the fire anymore. You're not putting anything in. Isn't it weird that the more you remove, and then there's like this shock that all of a sudden happens, where did the fire go? Why is there no more flame? Why are we not, but there's nothing going in. And then there's a shock. What you invested in the early days to begin to spark that flame is the same thing that you have to continue to do to keep that flame blazing. Why do we quit? What is it that causes us to do it? It's why so many people are struggling in a relationship. They're not making that decision. Listen, there are three groups of people in this room today. Number one, there are singles who are not dating. And let me say to you, make a decision. If you're not dating yet, if you haven't found somebody, when I say dating in the sense that you don't have somebody that you're dating on a regular basis, you haven't made a commitment to a boyfriend or whatever, or a girlfriend, listen, set your boundaries. What are your boundaries going to be? Not just set your boundaries, but also say, I want to change who I am. I want to be confident in who I am. Listen, the best advice I can give you, and it's going to be in all of these three categories, some of you need to go talk to somebody to work through past hurts and trauma. Whatever the hurt that you had in your childhood will come out in your marriage and relationships. Always. Begin to deal with those things. Find confidence in yourself. Begin to love who you are and who God created you to be. Stop listening to the lies of all of this stuff who have no interest in you whatsoever. Stop it. Be confident in who you are and not settle anymore. If you are dating somebody, then you need to go back. Listen, you still have time. Answer these questions. One of the best things that could come out of today is that certain couples begin to break up with other people. I know that sounds weird. And right now, every person dating is going, he's not talking to us, babies. We're good. We're good. I love you. I respect you way up here. No, you can't talk to your mama today. We got something to do. There's one of the most holy things that could happen is breakups, but not only that, redefining what the relationship should look like, what the expectations are. Make sure that you are being the right person and that person is being the right person with themselves. Begin to elevate that standard. The third group of people is obviously those who are already married and going back and making a commitment. Listen, it doesn't matter where you are right now. The decision you still have to make in all of these categories is, I'm going to be the right person now. Are you willing to take the step and begin to make the changes that are necessary to begin to move this thing forward? Begin to build the flame again. So here's what we decided to do as a way to help. One of the keys to one key element besides, yes, you might need to talk to somebody. You might need to get some help. You might need to find some resources. Yes. But one tool we could put in your hand today that will encourage it is what we call our date night bags. And it's not complicated. There's nothing super mystical about it. In these date night bags, there's just simply two things. There's a box that has the date nights in them, and the first one says start here. You can read that immediately. You can open it up, you can talk about it, start having conversations. Anything that you're coming up with right now, hey babe, we're too busy, we can't do it, we don't have childcare, all of that's answered in the start here. But forget all of that for right now. Your only decision is, are you gonna make a commitment to follow through and to do them? There's 5 date nights that we're asking you to do over the next 6 to 8 weeks. 5 date nights. I'm going to commit to it. And during that time, you're taking pictures. We're encouraging you to make some posts and stuff, and you can win some cool stuff that Reg will probably talk about. You can find on social media. But we also put in there a little thing that we want you to capture one of your favorite pictures during this time, to put it into this sleeve and put it on your refrigerator as a reminder that anything that you do, if you really want to build and invest in this marriage, it's going to require an investment. And that picture should be, we made a commitment. We invested in these 5 or 6 weeks, and that's always the reminder of what was the result of that, to continue to encourage you to continue to pursue and doing that. So this is a little thing, but here's what we're saying. You only need one. Everything you need for each other is in that bag for a couple. And what we're saying is, though, it's a commitment. If you're not willing to do it, if you're not willing to pursue it and to go, listen, I always say this, have the right attitude going into it, right? That I'm gonna have a positive attitude, that I'm gonna invest in it, I'm not gonna complain, be negative, and all the weird stuff that we oftentimes do to tear something down. We're gonna go into it with a good attitude, and we're gonna pursue it. If you're willing to make that commitment, we're gonna ask you to come forward when we close the service. We're gonna play a song over you. I want you to think about it and to pursue it. Because here's the thing, again, a couple of other cool details to note is there is a difference between married and singles, and if you're dating or whatever, all of that's explained in there. Listen to it, do the appropriate stuff. But if you're dating somebody, come forward. If you want to, make that commitment. And if you're married, come forward and pursue this whole thing. So, but here's what I want you to think about in closing. We said at the very beginning that this is the art of romance. And the way this thing works, it's a dance, right? You've got to take a step, they got to take a step. It's that rhythm where you're both working together and trying to find that rhythm to move this relationship back in motion to what God intended for it to be. And if you're dating on the early side, you're trying to find out if that dance is even there, right? Is the steps there? There are questions in here that will encourage you to talk about, that'll begin to figure out if you can do this dance with one another. That's the concept that we're trying to pursue in all of this. So let me pray over you as we close up. Father, in the name of Christ, would you move in this room? God, I realize that there are many couples in here, whether they're dating or married or whatever, that God, that they've lost that flame, that spark. It's dwindled all the way back down to there's just embers. And in some cases, some of us might even feel the embers aren't even there anymore, that there's nothing there anymore. God, my prayer is that we, the church, we would step up. Those of us who say that we love you, that we will take the next step and we'll do what's appropriate, and we'll do what's right, and take that step to begin to put stuff back on that flame. And God, these bags are just symbolic, but God, I pray that you'd use them. I pray that people would take it serious and they would use these simple little resources, these non-complicated little date nights, to begin to have conversations again, to listen again, to pursue again. And God, that you would do something miraculous in their marriage. God, I just envision a day when the church becomes the model of what marriage should be. That's what your intention was from the beginning, God, that we would model it, that we would live it, that God, the divorce rate is lower in the church than it is outside the church. God, may it begin with something as simple and maybe in some people's views as silly as these bags. God, may we be different, your people, and join in this dance. We pray in the name of Christ. Amen. You move when feel led.
Across the room and asked me to dance with you. You said you're the one I choose. Couldn't believe it. No, you weren't just passing by, and you looked me in my eyes. Oh, I found my paradise. Ooh, you are my paradise. I'm not leaving, even if the sun drops out of the sky, even if the stars stop shining at night, even if the drummer stops keeping the time. If your hands are in mine, I won't stop dancing, dancing on the mountain of a victory, dancing through the valley of a broken dream, dancing on the plains of the in-between. It's you and me, I won't stop dancing. Oh, won't stop dancing. Yeah.
We've made some memories. Yeah, we got some history. If we told them everything, they'd never believe it. So many lives out there, but none of them can compare to the sacred space we share. I'm dancing away my cares. I'm not leaving,
Even if the sun drops out of the sky, even if the stars stop shining at night, even if the drummer stops keeping the time, if your hands are in mine, I won't stop dancing, dancing on the mountain of a victory, dancing through the valley of a broken dream, dancing on the plains of the in-between. If it's you and it's me, I won't stop dancing.
oh,
I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing. To the right, to the left, when you step, I step. I won't stop dancing.
To the right, to the left, when you step by step.
I won't stop dancing.
To the right, to the left, when you step by step.
I won't stop dancing.
To the right, to the left, when you step by step.
I won't stop dancing.
All right. Hey, can we thank the worship team? Awesome job today. Pastor Chris as well. And hey, these date night bags are a great way for us to be intentional to pursue each other. If you're married like I am, pursue your spouse. And if, for those of you who aren't married yet, this is a great tool for you as you get to know each other. So make sure to take a bag and take advantage of that. And in those bags, you'll notice on one of those cards, it talks about how you can tag us on social media, because at the end of this series, we're going to be doing 2 giveaways. For a married couple, we're giving away a weekend getaway, which is really cool. And then, somebody's excited to get away. All right, well, good luck. So it's only one person winning, so we'll see. I'll pray for you. And then for the unmarried folks, we got some gift cards that we're going to give away for what will be an awesome date weekend if you win. So make sure that you tag us online as you do those date nights. And again, hope you have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday.